Hi there. Hey, I'm sitting there and I'm bouncing to the music. I love that music.
Me too. I'm doing the same thing.
Hi, I'm CJ Golden.
Hi, and I'm Wendy Green, and welcome to the Caregiver's Bakery. This is your time to just relax, put your feet up, feel nourished, build a caring community with other caregivers, and learn from each other.
What a great idea. What have you learned this week from someone, Wendy?
From someone.
Someone who taught you or gave you I learned that can anybody hear my phone?
Yes.
I learned that turning it off doesn't stop it from ringing. I'm sorry, folks. It's rather annoying. This week I learned that I don't have to be perfect all the time.
Right.
And which is good because I sure am not.
That silly phone.
Yeah, I can't. It'll
stop.
It'll stop and
okay.
Or I'll throw it out the window.
Well, I learned that Friday, tomorrow, is Thank a Caregiver Day.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
What do you think about that?
I love that. I love that because we who are caregivers feel we're doing a thankless job. And so just to have somebody give us a pat on the back and say, thank you. Thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for what you're doing to help my friend. Thank you for what you're doing to help my child. Thank you for helping me help my love. That's really important.
Yeah, and somebody was suggesting that there might be things that you can do to help, and ask the caregiver what kind of help they might need. But you had another thought about that.
Yeah, I did. When I was caregiver to Joe, well, even now, but really deep in the throes of it, and people said, what can I do to help you? And I would say, no, that's okay. That's all right. I'm fine. I don't know whether I was saying I'm fine because I needed to prove that I could do it all. I suspect that was part of it. I didn't want to say, yes, you can help me with yada yada, because I wanted to, I didn't want to bother anyone.
Right.
But when my friend showed up in front of Joe's hospital room every morning with a Starbucks almond milk cappuccino for me, that's what she knew she could do for me. When somebody said, if I had little kids and somebody had said, let me get the kids ready for school for you this week. To take a look at what that caregiver really needs and come up with what you can do all by yourself.
Yeah, I think that's really nice. I also think if you don't know the person very well, you might not know them well enough to say, oh, she'd like that special coffee from Starbucks or whatever. But you could say, how about if I offer to, bring in some dinner for you? Or how about if I offer to, sit with your loved one for a little while so you can run out and get your nails done or, something. So yeah. I wonder what our guest Nessa would say.
What do you think? Can I introduce Nessa? Can I?
You can. Let me bring her up.
Can I? Are we going to bring Nessa on, or shall I introduce her first?
Yes, she is. There she
is. First met Nessa through one of the caregiving Facebook sites. And there she was showing off her challahs. If you don't know what that is, it's a convoluted egg bread that takes forever to make, but it's twisted and it's wonderful. And Nessa would pull them out of the oven and take a picture of it. But what I noticed also about Nessa is her intelligence, her caring, her intuitive spirit, her resiliency. And as I got to know Nessa more, I recognized I was right. Nessa is a Southern California native. She has a BA from the University of California and an MBA from Tulane. She met and married Michael Weinman when she was at Tulane, and they've been married for about 10 years, young married couple, and all of a sudden, Mike was diagnosed with young onset Parkinson's. And at that point, they had 3 boys. They had a 2-year-old, a 6-year-old, and an 8-year-old. How do you deal? How do you deal? You put one foot in front of the other, and Nessa will tell us how she deals. She's has worked in advertising. She's been a stay-at-home mom for the last amount of time. In 2009, she worked for a national Parkinson's disease organization. Did a lot of monthly support groups. She and her husband now co-lead two different monthly support groups. Nessa, you're really on air a lot, aren't you? Her husband is treasurer and board member of a local nonprofit. Nessa now stays home full-time with Mike. Their 22-year-old son is living with them. Their 26-year-old son is there when he's not traveling, and their oldest son lives in Portland. He's now, he's how old? He's 28, is he now? So it's been a 20-year journey. I'd like to introduce, to bells and whistles and all kinds of love, Nessa Weinman.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Hey, Nessa, you have some fans out here that are saying hi to you.
Oh, yeah. They are. Okay, cool. Yeah. I'm happy. I almost was in tears when you were talking about the, what you can do for a caregiver, because I too started out saying no, but I learned fast when times are hard. I do the meal train and people bring me meals, and I've done it for people also, but I just think that's such a loving, giving way to show your concern and help for someone. So, and I was thinking about a friend of mine who was in the hospital, and I would go and bring her food. She was there with her husband, and made me feel all warm.
Yeah, and I think it makes the receiver feel warm too, because it's showing the love that you have for them. So, and you love to cook.
Yeah.
So Nessa, early on in your marriage, your husband developed Parkinson's, and so you've been a caregiver for what, 10, 15 years now?
21 years. Today's well, and I didn't give so much in the beginning, because in the beginning it was a slow progression, but it doesn't stop progressing. So then over the years, more symptoms. But yeah, it's with chronic disease, it's it's there always.
So what are your days like now, caring for Mike?
Well, actually, Mike is doing great right now. During COVID, he's been amazing. He Zoom exercises like 5 days a week, really hard stuff.
Wow.
He's been doing great. And I did have a lot of stress when the ICUs were full in Los Angeles and so many people were getting sick, because Mike doesn't get sick very much, but when he does, he goes all out and he's in the hospital. And it's, so COVID was, I'm feeling better now because there's not so many people in the hospitals, but I wouldn't even let Mike go out for a walk. I was just so scared that he would end up in an ICU and I wouldn't be able to visit him. And the same with my mom, who's 81. I was nervous about that too.
Yeah.
But now he's doing really well. I do have a caregiver 2 times a week, which gives me the opportunity, non-COVID times, to go and do things and meet with people. Well, actually, it's 3 days a week now. And so I'm very, very lucky because I'm not super busy all the time, except for when he's not doing well, and that happens. And you just never know when that's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And Nessa, you said, you have a caregiver there 3 times a week, and you would go out in non-COVID times. What do you do now in COVID times?
So COVID, I've been doing a lot of baking, a lot of just kind of learning new stuff, taking online classes for baking. Like during normal times, who had time for baking? I didn't really. My mother-in-law, who's on, Norma, she baked every day for her kids. And I never baked, but I've just really been having fun baking. And I've been doing a lot of art.
Oh, nice.
A lot of
Can
drawing.
I point to the piece behind you?
Yes, that's something I made a very long time ago, but I'm back at it again. And hang out with my dog a lot. I find that really comforting and nurturing. And then I also do meditation. And I particularly like the mindful self-compassion meditations, because I think caregivers get mad at themselves a lot and put blame on themselves. Like, if Mike falls, it's my fault. I didn't do something right. And I can get in that space pretty easily. Oops. And so I can say, oh, you're bad, you're the worst. And but the mindful self-compassion just really kind of brings you back, and and loving yourself.
Right, that self-care. And the fact that you're back into art and baking, I think, that's very nurturing for your soul.
Is that part of the mindful self-compassion? How if somebody is viewing us now,
Mm-hmm.
and their thoughts go to, how do you do that?
You know what? So kind of the key word is, if your friend told you what you're saying, what would you say back to them? Because I'm a loving, caring person. I love my friends. So what would I say to somebody else? And why can't I say that to myself? And why can't I give myself that self-love, that nurturing that we just sometimes need? And there's a website. I think it's called Mindful Self-Compassion. And they have free audio meditations that you can download. And they're really great. And I do blame myself for stuff that's absolutely not my fault, but it's just being stressed and having your cortisol always just at the very top sometimes. And I'm certainly not going to blame my husband, so I blame myself.
Yeah, we do that too much, probably. I wanted to circle back to the nonprofits that you work with. I think that's really interesting that you and Mike have both been able to be involved in that. He is a treasurer, you doing support groups. So can you talk a little bit about those nonprofits?
Yeah, for sure. So I used to work for a national nonprofit, and I just found that the focus, and their headquarters were in New York, and I never felt that the attention came back to LA, considering how much we were doing to raise money and stuff. So this group that we were all just really close with came together, and we started a new nonprofit called Parkinson's Community Los Angeles. And it's pcla.org. Thank you. And this group is really focused on quality of life and not research, because you have Michael J. Fox out there raising millions of dollars for research. But what a lot of people really need is just how to have a better quality of life right now. And so we do a lot of education and a lot of support groups. So Mike and I used to lead in person 2 support groups a month, or he'd come with me to one and I'd do one by myself. And then we started those because somebody else was doing them, the big national nonprofit, which ended up leaving LA. And here we had all these great groups of people, and what was going to happen to them? So then I stepped up and started doing one group, and then my husband said we should pick up and do the other group too, because the other one was a young onset group at night for people who are still working, and my other group was during the day. But my support groups help me as much as I help them. I think it's super great to be in a support group when you have an ongoing chronic disease. You learn so much from each other. And so we're doing them on Zoom. And I like doing them better in person. But, we're doing what we can do to keep people involved and happy and, educated.
So for people that don't live in LA, is it still a useful site for them to
Yes.
visit?
Yes, because we do a lot of webinars and a lot of things like that. And even the support groups, people come from all over now that they're on Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we get people internationally. That is the one good thing about Zoom. But, Zoom is harder for seniors to do. And most of our Parkinson's folks, most of them, not all of them, are seniors. So while I thought Zoom support groups would be much more popular because you don't have to drive there, and people with Parkinson's sometimes have issues with transportation, but my groups haven't gotten bigger, and I think that's the technology barrier.
Yeah.
But still, we get a good groups.
Yeah.
Yeah.
CJ, did you belong to a support group?
No, I didn't know they existed. I was so darn busy being 24/7 caregiver to Joe, even when he was in the hospital and he had all that medical skill people around him. It's only as I went through the process with Joe and as I started to recognize I have help here. Use it. Find ways to find support. And then I started giving support groups. There are a lot of caregiving support groups, even on Facebook, online, and I found those, and from those I discovered everything that's out there. But yeah, I was kind of behind the eight ball because I was one of those who was going to do it all by myself, and I didn't need any help at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When my dad went into hospice care, they offered some support groups, and I kind of, like all of you, initially, like, no, that's fine, I got this,
Yeah.
But it was a wonderful, supportive thing to be a part of. And Nessa, I'm wondering from you, like, you do all this giving work. What do you get from being kind of leading those support groups?
Well, I mean, a lot of times when I have a support group day, I'm like, oh man, I got to do a support group, and the whole deal. And then I always walk away feeling good because, helping other people is like eating chocolate. It really makes you feel good. And it can be addictive because it is good feelings. So, but I have a very nurturing family. My mom lives very close by, and my in-laws are very supportive, and I have a few really good friends I always know I can count on. And you know who they are? They're caregivers who will take time out of their busy day to help me if I need help, because caregivers understand. They understand what it's like. And I'm very drawn to caregivers as friends as well.
Sure. Yeah, I think that makes sense. But it's sometimes hard to ask for that help.
Yeah.
It is, but 21 years, I've learned. I
Yeah.
asked for help. I offer to set up meal train for other people because I know how hugely helpful it is when you have a family to feed and you can't cook.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Right.
different just being like one or two people, but I have 3 kids. And when, Mike was in the hospital, Mike had brain surgery twice. He had deep brain stimulation, which has helped manage his Parkinson's. And that was like 10 and 11 years ago that happened. But those things are stressful. And he was hospitalized another time. His colon burst and he went septic, and he was in the hospital for a really long time. And if I didn't have friends and family helping me, there's no way. My older son took my youngest son to school. There's times, that I felt bad because I couldn't give my children all the attention that they needed because I had to focus on Mike sometimes, just more life and death kind of thing. So, and also, if you don't have anybody to help you, caregivers get sick too.
Yeah.
And so, it's good to have some people that can, know your routine and can help you out because, just because we're caregiving for other people doesn't mean we don't get sick.
That's true.
Can I point out that it's interesting, Nessa, when you said you felt badly and a little guilty because you weren't giving your boys the care and the attention you thought they needed. What you were giving them was a lesson in stepping up to the plate, a lesson in love, a lesson in caring for someone you love. And that's a lesson that I'm sure they carry through them now, through their adult lives.
Right. I think my children are extremely empathetic to other people's plights because, they've lived it.
Exactly.
And pretty much they can't remember that my husband not having Parkinson's because they were
Yeah.
so young. But,
So-
they're stronger because of it, and stronger and weaker in some ways. You just can't help it. Life happens and you just do the best you can.
Exactly.
Yeah. So how do you ladies feel about talking about this golden milk tea recipe?
Oh, yeah. And before we do that, though, forgive me for this, because I'm seeing a lot of comments from Parkinson's Community LA is here. Hi, Nessa. Here's somebody you might know, Linda Barrett. Yay,
It's my
Nessa.
mom.
Yeah. Here's somebody, Lee Forest
Barbara-
Setters. Yeah, love from
Yes.
your Bagley Avenue neighbor, Lee. Yeah. So yeah, you're
You're
a
well
lot of people
loved.
cheering you on. Much love.
All right, I'm going to
Okay,
share
the
this
tea.
recipe.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so
Okay.
if you want to talk about
Yeah.
the benefits first.
Okay. So this is what it looks like because although I'm drinking it in a mug, you won't be able to see it, but comes out this nice kind of yellowy color, a little bit creamy. Okay, so I don't know, maybe 10 years ago, a friend of Mike's said, you got it. I'm sending you this golden milk recipe. You have to do it. And what it is, it's basically an Ayurvedic recipe that uses food, for healing. And so, we've all heard a lot about turmeric and how healthy it can be. I think a lot of people have heard about it, but it can really reduce inflammation, improves the brain, and can improve mood. There's all kinds of, things here, lower blood sugar levels, improves digestion for sure, which is a problem with people with Parkinson's. Because when things stop moving, everything stops moving. And constipation can be a big problem. And this happens to work very well for that, for my husband. And so based on all of this, then I started making it. And then it just became a nice, soothing evening routine as well. So about 8:30 at night, you get the golden milk and I warm it up. I make a decent amount in advance because he wants to drink it every night. So it's really easy to make, but it's just really kind of a soothing, I don't know, elixir that's actually very good for you. And they sell it in health food stores and such. And people are taking curcumin tablets. And I think it's always, if you can get these great vitamins and stuff from food rather than a pill, I think it's super awesome. And so I've turned a few people onto this, and everybody really likes it.
Well, you're about to turn more people onto it.
Yeah, it's absolutely. Hey folks, here's something behind the scenes. We get the recipes in advance before you do, and I made the golden milk because how could I not if I'm CJ Golden, and I've been making it for myself, and it's it is so tasty. But knowing that it also does all the helps you medically, physically, and I think emotionally too.
Yeah, it's calming, it's soothing. You know, even like mindful. It's mindful. You take your cup in your hand, and it's warm, and you pick your favorite cup at night, and sip it slowly.
Great idea. That's just another form of self-care. Yeah, I love that. And we're all still new at this. And so CJ and I were talking about another behind the scenes. How are we going to get all these recipes out to people? So we started playing around with Facebook. That was a little bit more difficult than we wanted it to be. So now we're suggesting that you might email us if you would like a copy of this recipe.
Or any of the recipes that we've had so far. The blueberry muffins.
Right.
Last week's the Greek chicken soup.
Right. So you can email CJ at authorcjgolden@gmail.com, or you can email me at wendy@heyboomer.biz. We're going to figure this out so that we can find a place, a repository for all of these. But for now, we just thought that would be a good way to share them.
That's a good way to do it.
Yeah, I would have loved to share challah, but it's an all-day affair.
Right.
But it is also, to me, very mindful, the kneading of the dough. And I find that to be calming as well. And the process, it's just a very long process, so it's not easy to share. Although I did do 2 Zoom teaching for making challah, one for making the dough and one for making for fancy braiding. And you can see those if you email pcla.org. You can see me making challah that way. But
okay,
that's good.
But I couldn't do it here.
No.
Yeah, and if anybody wants to talk to Nessa about Parkinson's and some of what she's gone through, you can email CJ or I, and we will put you guys together.
Or info@pcla.org as well.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Good to know. Good to know. So let's see. I think there were a few more comments that came in too after you talked about that.
Hi, Nessa from Sarah.
Sarah King.
And
there's
here we go. Parkinson's PCLA. Our email is info@pcla.org.
Right.
Yeah.
And they promoted this as well. So maybe you'll get some new caregiver bakeries from PCLA as well.
That would be awesome. Thank you.
Cool.
Well, thanks, Nessa, for being our guest today and sharing this delicious tea, My Pretty Cup.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
This was great. Well, we have next week.
Having next week?
Yeah, next week we have Chris McClellan. I met Chris when he and I were part of an international outreach on caregiving. He he's the author of What's the Deal with Caregiving, and he's also his deceased partner and he were in a 2015 Pulitzer Prize nominated caregiving story in sickness and in health. He's fabulous, very knowledgeable. He has a whole care network, and I'm looking forward to introducing our audience to Chris, just like I was looking forward to introducing Nessa to everyone.
Yeah, this has been great, Nessa. Thank you so much. And thank you everybody else who joined us today. We love
group.
having you as part of our community. And I'm Wendy Green.
And I'm CJ Golden, and we know that caregiving is not a piece of cake. So we are here to help you find the sweet spots. And if you would like to be a guest and share how you know about sweet spots, and please email me at authorcjgolden@gmail.com, or message Wendy or me on Facebook, and let's get you on as a guest on an upcoming show. Share your wisdom and recipes.
Yeah. Bye, everybody.
Bye,
Thank
y'all.
you.
Thank you for being with us.